everybody, it's Elaine coming to you today after my 4th chemo round at Cape Fear. I'm going to be real honest with you guys. I did not want to go in for my chemo today. A lot of emotions that have been welling up inside my heart over the last week and specifically in these last couple of days. It's been real difficult for me to emotionally deal with my cancer. And what I mean by that is there has been some fear that has settled into my heart regarding the road ahead. And as I went in this morning, I went back to Proverbs chapter 3, where it talks about trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding, and how our God's knowledge is so much higher and loftier than ours, and we cannot really attain to all of that as we walk in the flesh. But if we read on in Proverbs chapter 3, it tells us in verse 25, it says, "Have no fear of sudden disaster or of the ruin that overtakes the wicked, for the Lord will be your confidence and will keep your foot from being snared." And I love that verse because it talks about the Lord being our confidence. And so often we want to put confidence in the things that we can see, things that we can touch, things that we can manipulate and manage in our own way of understanding. And the reality is there are just going to be some things that come to us in this life that we're not going to be able to manage in our own understanding. And that's when we can say to the Lord, "You are my confidence, because your ways are higher than mine. And I'm not going to understand this right now, but Lord, I don't want to be fearful about the road ahead. And so I'm going to say to you again that you are my confidence." It was so interesting. When I got in there this morning, my chemo nurse Sarah came over, and she's just precious as the day is long. She's from Montana, as most of you know. And she said, "Well, Elaine, how are you doing?" And immediately tears just welled up in my eyes. And I said, "I just don't want to be here today, Sarah." And she's so understanding and so compassionate, and she kind of talked me through some of that. And then my buddy Vic came in that I met 4 weeks ago, and he was sitting next to me, and his wife, Wendy, just ministered to my heart with words of encouragement. And then it was so interesting. A lady from 2 weeks ago came in and sat down, and this was her second round. 2 weeks ago it was her first round. And I just noticed the drastic change in her composure from week 1 and then coming in now for her second treatment. And I talked with her about that, and I said, "You know, there is just a dramatic change in your countenance, because 2 weeks ago all I saw was fear, and now I see a woman here today who is chatting and lively, and a woman who understands that she can do this." And she said to me, and she's about 30 years my senior, she said, "You know what?" She said, when you don't know what to expect, that just makes us fearful." And I thought, how true is that? When we can't see our down the road and what it is that God is going to unfold for our lives, there's a lot to be fearful about because we've never experienced that. And she and I talked about how even 6 months ago, if you just said, "You're going to have cancer," we would have told you, both of you said, "We can't do that. There'd be no way we'd be able to handle that." And yet here we are, 2 women separated by 3 generations, or by a generation and 3 decades, and we're doing it. And so was Vic. And so I was just so strengthened by having those fellow pilgrims with me there in that lounge today, and they encouraged me. Now, I did take the nurses a honey bun cake, just for the record. You know, I got to stay in good with the nurses. But I am confident today in the Lord, and I am confident in His seeing down the road, and that no matter what turns for me in the days to come, that I can place all my trust again in Him. Just like I wrote in my last post, you know, I lift my hands to believe again. Sometimes our belief gets buried beneath our fear, our questions and our concerns. And, you know, we just need someone to come alongside us to strengthen us and to just help us lift those hands again to believe again and to say back to our God, not because He's forgotten who He is, but sometimes we need to echo the refrain of our faith even when our feelings and even when our fear are keeping us silent. We need to speak it out loud. We need to speak it out loud. And so that's kind of where my heart is today. We have finished number 4, so we're halfway there. We'll change meds up for the last 4. I covet your prayers. There's going to be a few days in here where I'm not going to feel real good, but the Lord is our confidence, and I want the Lord to be your confidence today, whatever you're facing. Thank you for journeying the road with me, and God's blessings over you as you move into the Thanksgiving week. May you just take time to pause and consider how very blessed that you are and that we are, and that we're able to do life together like this. I love you each one. Take care. Bye-bye.